Okay, happy Thanksgiving. It's Thursday evening, and I'm finally going to try to get through this part 2 of weight loss through thermogenesis, which is going to be just dedicated to dietary-induced thermogenesis. That is burning body fat by way of what foods you choose to eat and how you arrange them. Did you know that there's a study, and I'm going to link it here. I won't link it, of course, it's too much for me to do, but I will put the site in the description, that compared different mixed diets, and it concluded that we spend 5 to 15% of the calories that we eat just on digestion. Now, did you hear that? 5 to 15% of the overall calories that we eat in a day are utilized to digest that food. And digestion is not as soon as the food's swallowed. Digestion begins as soon as you begin to chew the food, right? The enzymes are released as your teeth are trying to break the food up and tear the food up into small pieces you can swallow and the stomach can more easily deal with, digestive system can more easily handle. And this includes creating the enzymes and just on and on and on and on and on. The saliva. But remember, the study compared mixed diets. So if you play with the macros, I'm going to explain to you a way that you can get a lot more mileage out of thermogenesis, dietary-induced thermogenesis, than a mere 5 to 15%. A lot more. So when it comes to diet-induced thermogenesis and macronutrients, protein is the absolute winner when it comes to boosting your calorie burn rate with your diet. Now, protein, I got my little crib sheet here. Science says you can burn away between 20 to 35% of the calories you eat on digestion if you stick to high protein foods. Now, that's a lot. That's a lot. 20 to 35%. Okay, so envision right now however you're eating, okay? If you have a rough idea, maybe you know exactly, but if you have a rough idea, or you can obtain a rough idea where you're at calorically on an average day, right? You don't change that calorie number. The only thing you're going to change is you're going to restructure those macros so that a lot more of the food is coming from protein in the macros rather than fats and carbs. You can cut back fats and carbs however you need to, and you're going to bump that protein up a lot higher. Now, if you could achieve this, 20 to 35% burn rate, now that's 20 to 35% now of those calories you're going to burn up just because you changed the foods that you're eating. But you haven't changed the caloric intake. You're still at the same number calorie-wise every day. But now you're automatically, right off the top, you're burning away 20 to 35% of those calories, whereas you weren't before, right now, you're not doing that. So just by that change alone, you're going to lose body fat. Now, if it's a diet, of course, why else are you going to do this? Of course, you're going to couple this with some kind of cardio work, and you're going to change some other things. So you're going to really see a lot of bang for your buck with this approach. Now, the harder your meals are to digest, the more extra calories that your body has to burn to extract the nutrients from them. But remember, you got to replace the calories. When you restructure your macros, you don't want to change that caloric number. If you want this to work correctly, you still want to take in the same amount of calories per day that you're taking in right now. You just want to restructure what they're comprised from. Okay? That's how it works. Just replace some of the fat and the carbs in your meals with lean proteins. I'm not going to give you the examples I have here on the crib sheet, because I'm going to give you some examples of my own that I think are better suited for what we're after. Let me give you another example here. Celery has negative calories. So how can that be? Well, it takes more energy to break down and absorb the celery than the celery contains. Now, grasp a hold of that. Celery has negative calories. when you eat celery, it automatically, you've deducted calories from your diet, because the process, breaking down the celery and trying to absorb nutrients out of it, or get the nutrients out of that celery, costs more calorically than the value of the celery, right off the top. So that's why celery is such a good, snack or whatever, when anybody's on a diet, because you're doing a smaller version of what we're talking about doing here. Now, what we're talking about doing here, when you do this, now consider also digestion times. We're not talking about, small little bits here and there. We're talking about digestion times run hours and hours. As many as 18 hours to digest some foods completely, right? That's at the high end. At the lower end, you have a couple of hours, okay? So we're talking about you're burning that whole time. That whole time you're burning. So this is something that's pretty much a non-stop thing. Once you get started with it, the longest period of time is going to be overnight. And you want to prepare for that. Is particularly pay attention to the meal you're going to have before bed, because you want to set yourself up for the longer burn time in that window while you're asleep. Now, you already know that protein takes the most energy to digest. Well, next is carbs, and they take like 5 to 10% of your calories away. And then fats, which only take away 0 to 3%. So that's very much why you've heard the term or the saying, the fat you eat is the fat you wear. Because fat costs almost nothing to digest. In some cases, it does cost nothing to digest. Remember that the next time you're reaching for the wrong kind of fat. So, calorie is definitely not a calorie. Because here's the other little key issue. Processed food. Processed food takes less energy to digest and absorb compared to whole food. 100 calories from processed food ends up being more net calories than 100 calories of whole food. And it's going to vary with what you're eating, of course. But if you were trying to get big, you're a small guy trying to get big, this is why you may want to eat some more processed shit. Because you're not going to burn any calories, and getting larger is going to be all about conservation of calories. So this is why, just to get big, I'm big on liquid nutrition. And believe it or not, more processed shit. Now, I'm not talking about, don't get extreme. When you pick up yogurts in a supermarket and you flip it over and you read the back of it, all right, you will see stuff like, you may pick one up and it'll have ingredients like milk and bacteria. Basically, not much more than that, if more than that, right? That's a whole food. That's your best choice if you're trying to burn calories. You're trying to get lean. If you're trying to get big and you got a craving for some yogurt, then you would want to pick up something that says like sodium citrate, cornstarch, gelatin, pectin, calcium phosphate, potassium phosphate, sodium phosphate, these kinds of things. Maybe some other shit you can't even pronounce. Now, am I suggesting that any of this is healthy? No. Am I suggesting that eating that shit is going to be a much better approach if you're trying to get big and gain weight than if you were trying to lose weight? Absolutely. Absolutely. Processed shit is going to cost almost nothing to absorb, very little to absorb and digest. So, the processed shit, you're still getting all the calories, in most cases more calories, and you're not spending anything to digest it. And that's what getting larger is going to be about, especially if you're a skinny guy, naturally ectomorphic type of guy. You want to conserve calories. You don't want to waste calories. And where a lot of fucking people fail is they never stop and consider what their diet costs. They know the numbers, the macros, the overall calories, but they don't take a look at exactly the food and how much they have to burn or work to digest and assimilate the foods they're choosing. Isn't that like a huge fucking epiphany? It should be, because this is what I'm telling you right now is a game changer. And we'll get into that again a little bit further. Same thing with anything else, just like that. Now you're trying to lose weight. You want foods that are going to be more difficult to digest and are going to take longer to digest, and you have to work harder to digest so that you're going to burn more calories. Another indicator, another thing you want to look for in the foods that you want is generally if the food contains a lot of fiber, okay, you're going to burn more calories to digest it. If the food contains sugars and contains processed shit, or it's a juice, you're not going to have the fiber. It's going to be very easy to digest and assimilate, and it's usually going to be more calories. Okay, case in point. If I'm trying to get bigger, I'm reaching for fruit juice. If I want that, I'm reaching for vegetable juice. I won't get the fiber in that usually unless I get a specific blend that just advertises, hey, extra fiber, right? But the usual normal fare of that, what's normal for that, is that juice won't have the fiber. The fiber won't be in there like it is an actual whole piece of fruit or a fucking vegetable, whole vegetable. But it's very easy to digest and assimilate without the fiber, and that usually means it's going to have more calories. If I'm trying to get big, I don't want to spend calories. I want to draw in more calories and not spend calories. So that makes it easier to get the calories, and I'm not spending calories. If I'm trying to lose body fat, trying to lose weight, I want the piece of fruit over the juice. Don't want the fucking juice. I want the whole vegetable over the vegetable juice. Don't want the juice. Do you understand where we're going with this? The actual vegetable has got the fiber. Okay, that is what's going to make you have a harder time digest. It's going to take more work. You're going to burn more calories to digest that, and by the time you've eaten that vegetable, you are going to get a lower number of overall calories as if it were concentrated in a bottle of drink, as drinks are. So just ways to organize your calories over the day. Even at the end of the day, if you're trying to get a set amount, you're going to get it either way. Okay. So now that's why also, since the body likes to absorb liquid nutrition more readily and more easily than it will solid nutrition, this is why smaller guys, you little guys that people are telling you that you don't want liquids, you want real food. Guess what? You want liquids. You want the shakes. You want, now we're assuming that it is what it says on the label. That part I have no control over, and nobody else does either. The bastards that are selling you and marketing it, they're the ones that are behind that. If it doesn't meet label claim, that's their fucking criminality or whatever. Their fraudulent ways. That's not any factor in this. It can become a factor, but how do you know what the hell you're getting anyway, right? But if it meets label claim, you're going to want that shake over solid food. Why? Because the fucking solid food, that amount of protein in the solid food, it's going to be more to digest. You're going to burn more calories. The shake, it's going to be more readily assumed, more easily assimilated by the body, and it isn't going to cost you any calories to do that. It's a no-brainer. There's no debate. There's an idiot conversation about it, but there's no real educated debate. Other than that, maybe it doesn't meet label claim, which is something intrinsic that it's an unknown, right? If it says on the label, you can only trust something somewhere. Everything has a label on it, and everything says something no matter where you get it from. So who the hell knows? Now with the milk, I go with the milk because with milk, now we're talking, of course, no lactose. Nobody wants lactose. You never want lactose. I don't like lactose. It doesn't do anything good. So I like the Fairlife, as you know, lactose free. Right now, all right, as I try to get larger, which I'm doing, it's a lot of Fairlife milk. It's a lot of Fairlife milk. There's no steaks. There's not any of that. Yeah, you know why? Well, for one thing, I don't eat red meat anymore. I haven't for many, many months. But if you're trying to get larger, I would choose the Fairlife milk. I'm going to choose the easier to digest product. Not to mention that milk has a higher protein efficiency ratio than beef anyway. But if I'm getting ready to compete, when I go to diet down, it's going to be all solid food. And that's the way it's always been. You know, when they say, you know, bodybuilders don't use shakes and this and that, traditionally, you usually do not use anything like that pre-contest. Pre-contest. Okay? Now, a lot of guys may tell you, well, in the off season, I'll use it just for convenience. Well, if they're really smart, they're using it for other reasons too. They're using it because they're a conservation of calories and it's more readily absorbed. It's more easily absorbed, it's more readily absorbed. Solid food, 2 reasons pre-contest. All solid food that you've made. 2 reasons, because number 1, I know exactly what's in it as much as I can know what's in it because I made it from raw foods. And number 2, I want the body to have to go through the work of digesting it to burn more calories. So this is all in a nutshell dietary thermogenesis. Dietary thermogenesis. You want to get lean, you figure out where you're at calorically, and all you do is turn the protein up, pick fibrous things, pick whole food things over processed shit, even in like things like cheeses or anything like that. In fact, one of the studies that I will cite in the explanation of this thing, description, was a study that used processed cheese sandwiches versus whole food cheese sandwiches. And it was a drastic difference. Drastic difference in the value that the body pulled out of these foods and how many calories it had to burn to consume them. Huge difference. Just from a fucking cheese sandwich. So if you really got your diet correct, okay, you want to lose the weight, get rid of all the processed shit, go with whole foods. Get rid of the juices, go with the whole food. Go with more fibrous things. Go with high protein. You know, cut your fats and carbs back. Go with high protein. Now, how high do you go? You go pretty high because you got to understand that you're not just trying to build muscle with this protein. Right now, I have, at this stage of the game in my life, my age, I don't want to take mad amounts of protein. So in the past year, I've come down with the protein and realized it's a smarter thing to take in less protein if I don't need that much. So right now, I'm taking in between 250 and 300 max. 250 to 300 grams a day. And I'm pretty heavy, and I'm pretty big right now. Bigger than I have been for a long time. Now, when I go to do this dietary-induced thermogenesis, which I always do once I get cranked up, get into the diet, and this time I'm going to do it straight out of the gate, that's all I'm going to do. I will turn the protein up to probably from, say, I'm between 250 and 3, I will probably go between 4 and 450. 250 and 3, I'll go to 4 and 450, which seems high, but I will literally become an incinerator from that. I will not increase my caloric intake. I will not decrease my caloric intake in calorie-wise in the course of the day. What I will do instead is play with the macros. I'll drop down with carbs and fats and up the protein. And how do I know that? I figure out where I'm at calorically, how much protein I'm taking in right now, then I'm going to bump that protein up. So do the math. You know, how many calories a gram of protein worth? You do your multiplication, and now you know how many calories of that amount that you're taking in the course of the day is coming from protein, and then figure out where you want to be with the rest of that, the excess, you know, between your fat and your carbs. And you try that and see what that does. And as you go along, you tweak it, you do what you got to do, but you don't fuck with the calories overall. You just change the macros, rearrange the macros. So that's it, and that's how it works, and it's not very complicated. It seems revolutionary, but it is not. There's fuckload of science on it. There's studies out the ass on it. You could read them till your eyes fucking go blind. There's so many. I can give you the actual technical jargon and the name for the shit. I guess I'll just put it in the description. But another reason why guys are so huge today is we don't diet like they used to diet. We don't starve the body. When you starve off fat, you starve off muscle. Sorry, you do. You add your cardio in there to that and all this other shit, you're going to lose more muscle than you need to lose. You still may come out looking good. You still may come out decent size, but you ain't coming out anywhere near where you could be. You literally could, near the end, once you tweak everything and have it correct, you literally could play with it and end up coming in and gaining some muscle near the end. Gaining a few pounds of muscle. Yeah, because the protein is so excessive. There's more than enough protein to remain in a positive state of nitrogen balance, to remain anabolic. So you're definitely feeding the musculature. You're not only going to not lose muscle, you may gain some muscle. And this is how guys grow into shows. Now you may, you're at the same time, with dietary-induced thermogenesis, you're going to be able to burn that shit off without starving it off, so you don't have to starve the body. You can't just starve body fat. You starve the whole body if you starve any of the body. So older days, guys were another one of many reasons guys were a lot smaller. So stick with me and I'll tell you the real deal. And the little busters, they don't have to believe it. They can just keep doing whatever they're doing. God bless them. And if any of you guys out there can pick up any pointers from any of this and apply it to your own game, I'm telling you right now, it'll take a little guy and you can get big a lot easier. And it takes a bigger person and you can lose that body fat a lot easier this way. And the other big bonus to this, if you're fat, overweight, obese, big boned, heavy, chunky, or just bulky, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to wear, I don't care, because it's just a label. It means nothing to me. You know, I don't want to wear any labels, and you know, however you want to put it, it's up to you. But when you drop a lot of body fat, if you have a lot to lose and you lose it, which is awesome, usually you lose a lot of muscle. And there are also studies I've been reading that most obese people, believe it or not, actually are carrying a high amount of muscle also, more so than the average person. Yeah. Bones are also heavier, thicker, and stronger too, but in a different way than like mine are, for say. And that's why when a lot of people lose body fat, they are very easily subjected to hip problems and lower joint problems, because their bones become very brittle when they lose all the body weight. Don't know exactly why, but there's all kinds of studies on it. Google for yourself. But the way that if you diet this way, okay, your skin isn't going to be as loose as it otherwise would be if you just starve and lose everything. And when you starve and lose everything, you're going to look awesome, you're going to be happy, you're going to feel great, you're going to deserve all the credit in the world. But there's still going to come a time when you adjust to that you're going to look at yourself and you're going to say, now I need to start to work out and tighten all this shit up. And you're still going to have to deal with the skin. And it may come back. It may come back some. It may come back completely. It may not all come back like that. Snap right back. But if you go this route, you have a much better chance of success. As far as when you're finished, you're still going to be tight, shapely. You're going to retain some of that muscle that's under there that you don't even know is there. And your skin is going to be healthier and more, have better elasticity in the end result. Yeah, so it's a win-win no matter what you're trying to do. If you're trying to get bigger, trying to get smaller, whatever the fuck. So dietary thermogenesis, it's a way to go. It's the way the big boys do it. And it's not any kind of secret to any of us. Thanks. Hope you have a great night. I hope that at this late for me hour that I was able to make this somewhat easy to understand. I might not have. I might have failed. If I did, let me know. It's not you, it's me. You know, getting dimmer like a tired light bulb. Take care and have an awesome evening. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving.